Good afternoon. My name is Shannon Kringen, and I'm speaking to you from Seattle, Washington, USA. I'm noticing a pattern with humans. I'm noticing that people are gaslighting each other and ostracizing each other, and there's peer pressure to conform. And I trust my own intuition, and I trust my wisdom, and I trust my instincts. And I have people that I think are very intelligent who are condescending to me and disrespecting me and misinterpreting me. And I'm not sure how to connect with these people. There are people in the world who mean well, but I think they're being brainwashed. And so I am actually intentionally being vague because I personally cannot handle feeling like I'm on trial, and citizens are policing each other's thoughts and opinions, and we're allowed to speak out against authority in a certain way, and yet we are not allowed to. And when I say we're not allowed to, of course, we're allowed to say whatever we want to some extent. But if you say certain things that are controversial, you will be ostracized, canceled, virtue signal, shamed, judged, ridiculed, made fun of. Like in the medical industry, when there's trailblazers and whistleblowers, they get themselves in hot water. So let's acknowledge that when humans are wrong about something, they don't want to believe that they're wrong. So I know a lot of really intelligent people who, in my opinion, are brainwashed and manipulated into thinking one thing is true when it could be the exact opposite is actually true. So I'm trying to actually say what I think without, like, I personally, I am Shannon Kringen, an individual, and you are whoever you are watching me. You're entitled to your opinion as much as I'm entitled to my opinion. And I don't want to tell you what you're supposed to think. That's one thing I don't like is so-called well-meaning people who lean to the left who mean well. If somebody leans to the left or leans to the right, they might actually mean well. People that are really extreme on the left and really extreme on the right, I tend to not agree with. People who see the gray zone and the nuances and are willing to have the courage to acknowledge the human psychology of when humans have mental blocks and psychological blocks. There's something called mass psychosis formation. There is something called virtue signal, peer pressure. People don't want to be ostracized. And so if you stand up and you're a whistleblower or you're a trailblazer in any way, shape, or form when it comes to politics, medicine, nutrition, controversial opinions about the planet Earth and what we should and shouldn't do with the planet Earth, like I believe that humans should take better care of the earth, and I believe we should work with nature. And I'm not a fan of genetically modifying everything when it comes to medicine, when it comes to food, when it comes to the weather, when it comes to, using technology and experimenting with technology. And then I realize when I'm recording this and I'm putting this on YouTube, it's being data mined. There's artificial intelligence that is data mining everything that I'm saying. And it could be that human beings are leading into the direction of movies like Logan's Run, The Matrix, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I mean, I know Invasion of the Body Snatchers is about like, seed pods and like, fake things that aren't real. Some of the science fiction movies contain absurd ideas, but as a metaphor, I'm smart enough to see through things like that in terms of a metaphor. Invasion of the Body Snatchers resonates with me because it's about people who are the people that are truly awake versus woke. If you're woke, sometimes actually you really mean well and you are trying to do the right thing and you're very ethical and you have empathy for people. Um, who think differently than you, as well as empathy for people who relate to the wound that you have emotionally or physically. Other times, what was I saying? See, I lost my train of thought. I lost my train of thought. Movies like Logan's Run, where people are told by the government that they can only live till age 35, and a lot of them believe it. And then these certain people go to the forest and they see that there's an old man living in the forest with a bunch of cats, thus proving the government is lying. The government is not telling the truth. So about in the movie Logan's Run. So I feel like that's the direction humans are going in. We are using technology. We are experimenting with technology in terms of our physical bodies and our health, the way we eat, the way we practice medicine. And there are people protesting against authority right now in ways that I partly agree with and I partly don't agree with. I feel like what we're taught is totalitarianism and fascism might be different than what is actually those things. So we're allowed, as somebody who, see, I'm afraid to say what I really think. I'm actually afraid to say what I really think because I don't want to be shadow banned, ostracized. I've had people make fun of me and laugh at me. They don't realize how smart I am. I'm highly intelligent and highly sensitive, and I'm not perfect. I sometimes don't know certain things, but I'm smart enough to know that a lot of really smart people are being brainwashed and manipulated. And I have empathy for people who want to feel safe. They want to know what's true and what's false. I cannot pretend to go along with certain things that I don't think are based in truth and ethics. And when companies have no liability, when their products have no liability, I'm not okay with that. And that's not ethical. And I'm seeing trailblazers and whistleblowers point things out. But then I'm also seeing people being ridiculed and ostracized. So when they say it's a free country, you can say whatever you want, that's actually not true. Because if you actually say something that's too controversial, like the McCarthy era, when everybody was accused of being a communist, if they criticized capitalism in a certain way, they were blacklisted and accused of being a communist. Imagine what it was like to survive in Germany, World War II. And if you were a Jewish person or a German person, you had to figure out how you were going to survive what was going on. And people had to be fake with each other to survive. Now, current times, you have to be diplomatic if you want to survive. If you want to keep your job, if you want to stay employed, you have to play the game. You have to put up with certain things that may or may not be true. I don't want to talk about all my jobs because I spend a lot of time telling you what my jobs are, but let's just say that I am having to navigate thinking, how can I build bridges with people? Because I'm not as brave. Like I'm not Joan of Arc. I wish that I was as brave as Joan of Arc, or who are the whistleblowers and trailblazers, that basically risk their lives to stand up for what they believe in. And some of these people end up no longer on planet Earth when they stand up for things. They sometimes are just not around anymore after that. And then you wonder, was that natural or not? Was their passing natural or not? Is it a so-called theory of conspiracy to think that certain things happen that are not natural? I believe in questioning everything, and I don't want to say what my theories are on this video because I don't have the courage. I actually don't have the courage to be a. Also, I don't feel comfortable being a whistleblower because I don't know for sure what's really happening. But I'm smart enough to know that I think people are being deceived. And I feel like there's lots of smoke and mirrors and there's layers and layers and layers to the corruption. I'm trying to figure out why my computer is kind of shaky. Sorry about that. It's wiggling and wobbling. Then I think about movies like Silkwood, Hollywood movies about whistleblowers. Um, it's obvious what's really going on in those movies. And I think that's partly why we like watching those Hollywood movies that are about whistleblowers when the audience knows what the truth is. Um, in real life on planet Earth, we don't really know fully what the truth is. There are a lot of corporations that make a lot of money marketing ideas. And then part of me thinks certain things are nefarious. And I wonder, is something actually nefarious, like, with negative intent by corporations who only care about making money and they don't actually care about actual health and actual ethics and actual honesty? Then there's the human psychology of people wanting to feel safe, like they can trust authority. Right now, I feel like I don't trust current authority, but I also didn't trust the previous authority. I'm a United States of America citizen, and I speak English, so I have a certain perspective. Growing up in the United States, I have a certain perspective that's part of my culture. And if I lived in a different country, I would have a totally different perspective. So I recognize that, but I recognize the human psychology of wanting to feel safe. And the way that I feel safe personally, I can't speak for you. Most people just join a bandwagon. I can't. I have never really fit in. I remember I came home from school as a third grader and I would say, Mommy, I feel left out. Mommy, I feel excluded. And I felt socially excluded. I was kind of shy. And I recognized that as a little girl, I wanted to be popular, but the popular girls were really mean and sarcastic. I mean, as a little kid, I didn't know what the word sarcastic even meant, but I recognized that people would tease each other. And I'm an only child, so I didn't have brothers and sisters that teased me. So I didn't know how to deal with other kids that were teasing me and kind of poking fun at me. And I was just kind of, I guess because I'm on the autism spectrum. And when I say that, I'm not putting myself down. I'm highly, highly, highly intelligent, but I also have blind spots. So I think that I'm one of these gifted, I'm very gifted in some ways artistically. I'm very insightful. I have strong intuition. I have strong ability to recognize patterns in human psychology. Um, I have a bachelor's degree in liberal studies. I am highly intelligent. I got really good grades in high school. I wrote lots of essays. My teachers in high school said I was wise beyond my years. So I'm a highly, highly, highly intelligent. But I am also emotionally kind of very childlike. So you could say that my emotional IQ might be lower because I get easily frightened by other people and I feel competitive and defensive and misunderstood. So when I say that I'm on the autism spectrum, I'm not trying to put myself down and say that I'm not smart. I'm just saying that I'm inconsistent. I'm saying that in some ways I'm really wise beyond my years. And in other ways, I feel like I'm still a little kid and I'm scared of people and I feel competitive and jealous and defensive. And I'm witnessing people in their pecking orders and I'm witnessing people that mean well, but they're really snotty. And they think that they're good liberal. They think they're left-wing progressive liberal people that are fighting for justice and fighting for equality and fighting for ethics. And I believe in that. I believe in equality and ethics, but I also believe in not contradicting yourself. So when somebody says that they're against belittling and making fun of people, and then they proceed to make fun of me and belittle me or people like me, people that are the minority, I'm a left-handed only child person that's on this autism spectrum. I have synesthesia. I see shapes when I hear music, but this doesn't mean that I'm not super intelligent. It doesn't mean that it does, people use that against you when you admit your flaws and your weaknesses. People use that, 'cause some people, mean people, use that against you and they're competitive. And some people are not aware of what their own shadow is. And I think that there's a lot of really smart liberal people that are activists that are not realizing that they're being brainwashed and they're not realizing that the corruption is more complicated than they're thinking. They're focused on the more simplistic, the 1960s radical activist way of, protesting against the Vietnam War kind of mentality, which I believe in. Like, I don't think that Vietnam War was a good idea. I don't think Hiroshima was a good idea. Bombing Hiroshima was not a good idea, but that's what we did. And so, am I allowed to say that here? Hopefully. When I say allowed to say that, I mean that I don't want to be canceled or shadow banned or ostracized for having opinions that are not popular. So the way people stereotype each other is upsetting to me. The left wing people, the right wing people, whoever, I don't fit in with any of it. I'm somewhere in the middle. And then people say, oh, that means you don't really care. You need to take a stand and take a side. And then I talk to my mom about non-duality, and she's very private, so I'm not going to say anything else. But let's just say both my parents are sensitive and philosophical. And I've talked to both of them about different philosophies, about how the human psychology of survival works and how people like to join tribes with each other. So if I had to pick a tribe, I don't really fit in. I appreciate everyone's individuality, and I love plants and animals. I also eat animals. I'm not a vegetarian. I used to be vegan vegetarian. Now I'm an omnivore. So when I say I love animals, it doesn't mean that I don't also eat animals. I do eat animals. I am an omnivore and I love animals. So I love to build bridges with people, which is that I spend time taking care of plants and animals, and I volunteer out in nature. And I work with artists. So those are the ways in which I build bridges. But I'm finding it getting harder and harder and harder to keep walking on eggshells when I witness things that I think are fake and I don't believe in. When I'm told something is for my health and I don't buy into it, there's a lot of chemicals in our food and genetically modifying of our food and genetically modified treatments in medicine that I don't necessarily agree with. But I'm not here to speak for anybody but myself. So there's the duality of thinking that I have to join the left wing or the right wing. I don't belong in either one of those extreme ideas. So is there room for me? Oxymorons through the door, a group for loners, and they all showed up. So these are some of my thoughts. It's like, but does it even matter that I'm speaking English into the camera right now? I'm going to listen back to this video and try to learn from it. And whoever else is listening, I hope you learn something. Not that I'm teaching you something that you don't already know, but that my words, I'm just speaking for myself, and that my words might make you think of something in your own mind. You might have your own personal insight, not because necessarily because of what I'm saying, but because of your own intelligence, your own individual wisdom and intelligence. We are all unique individuals, and I want to maintain my freedom of thought. I think it was artist Laurie Anderson. I really love the music and visual art of Laurie Anderson. She said that she mostly loves being an artist to maintain a sense of freedom. And I do resonate with that. The idea of having freedom. And the Tom Petty song Refugee, where he says everybody's had to fight to be free. Thank you, Tom Petty, for your beautiful lyrics. uh, Dozens and dozens of Tom Petty songs, the songs like Luna and Pirates Cove, and Hypnotic Eye has American Dream Plan B. That's got great lyrics in it. The Last DJ. There's a lot of Tom Petty songs that are not famous hits that I love the lyrics of that are wisdom. And a lot of his songs are about maintaining a sense of freedom, maintaining a sense of don't let the jerks get you down, don't let the bastards get you down kind of mentality, and stand up for what you believe in. But these days, when I look at people protesting and marching, I think, yeah, I agree with marching against fascism, but I may or may not agree with what I think the real fascism is. Like, my definition of what's fascist and what's not fascist might be different than some of the other people out there. And I'm not here to say what that is because I don't want to put myself, well, I already am under a microscope. I mean, there's people close to me that say that I shouldn't make these kind of videos. And yet I just want to speak my mind. So I'm trying to be vague. I'm not being vague because I don't have strong opinions. I'm being vague because obviously I don't want other people to label me. But the thing is, doing this video, probably, if anybody actually listens to this video, I probably will get labeled as being whatever stereotype you think that I am. Like, go ahead and stereotype me. Like, people are stereotyping each other, and we're supposed to not be doing that. Aren't we supposed to evolve out of segregation? Like, I feel like now humans are segregating in a different way. Like, we used to literally have segregation. Black people and white people used to go to separate schools, and I'm glad that's over. Obviously, that's good for humans to be free, to be have equality and mix with each other and have different um, kinds of people interacting and being equal to each other, hopefully. But now we're segregating in a whole different way, like in the left and right wing. Like, I personally, I could be friends with anybody if they're kind to me. And even if they disagree with me about politics or food or travel or music or like, I don't want to segregate myself from other humans. And when you think about things happening in the Middle East and the way people are segregating away from like these are the good people versus these are the bad people, and depending on who you ask, the opposite. Oh no, those are the bad people and these are the good people. Okay, where do I fit in with that? So I'm trying to figure out where do I fit in? Well, I'm an individual human living here in Seattle, Washington, USA, and I speak English. So where do I fit? And then here I am labeling myself like what are my labels? I'm Caucasian. I speak English. I'm left-handed. I'm an only child. I'm on the autism spectrum. Like these my labels. But the thing is, I'm a unique individual, just like you are a unique individual. Um, you might be right-handed. You might have a bunch of siblings. You might come from a different country. English might be your second language, not your first native language. So and then when I look at the trees and I look at the squirrels and the earthworms and and I think about the microorganisms and in the soil and how magical that is and the fungus in the soil. And then I think about Hundertwasser, my favorite painter, and his philosophy about humans being in harmony with nature and living in harmony with nature and how much I admire regenerative agriculture and working with nature. Right now, I think there's a war against nature, but I'm not going to go into detail on that. But I think that a lot of things they're telling us are 180 degrees from truth. And so we're like living in that book, 1984, where the emperor has no clothes, and yet it's more complicated than that. I feel like the current people in charge, whoever they are, the World Economic Forum people and the people behind the scenes that that are not famous. You know, there are people that have a lot of power that are not famous at all and they're not on camera and they're behind the scenes and we're not seeing those people. And that's not delusional to think that. There are plenty of secret things that happen in the military and they don't tell us sometimes for good reason and sometimes for probably bad reason, but it's none of my business. But what can I do as an individual? Oh gosh, I got to clean my nose. Sorry about that. There's like my nose needs to be cleaned. I'm a human. There's mucus in my nose. Okay. So there it is. So thank you for listening. This is Shannon Kringen, Goddess Kring. It is April 22nd, 2025. And that ain't no jive. God, I need to clean my nose. Now I'm self-conscious about my nose. Sorry. I'm a flawed human being. Um, okay, I'm gonna upload this video and maybe I shouldn't upload this video. I need to clean my nose. Oh my God, I'm embarrassed now. I'm embarrassed that my nose is dirty. There we go. Nope, see, still dirty. Very embarrassed now. Okay, guess what? Shannon Kringen has mucus in her nostril, like everybody else. Um, yeah. Okay, now I'm going to upload this video and listen to it, see if I have the courage to publish this. I might actually publish it and then delete it. I don't know, but I'm a human on this planet and I am grateful for the ways in which I can build bridges with other people and plants and animals. And I am finding it really uncomfortable, feeling like I'm walking on eggshells, feeling like I'm witnessing myself and others be gaslit and ostracized. And yet at the same time, I have a lot of people that I work with that I'm cooperative with, and I am able to maintain relationships with family and friends and people that I work with, and that's a positive thing. Somebody close to me asked me, who am I talking to in these videos? I think this person was kind of uncomfortable with my publicness. And I'm thinking, okay, am I talking to myself? Hi, Shannon Kringen, I'm talking to you. Am I talking to God, Great Spirit, Higher Self? Am I talking to the audience? You, the audience? Are you my audience? Who are you? I am talking to whoever is interested in what I have to say. I'm expressing myself. I think that if a tree falls in the forest and nobody is there to hear it, did it still make a sound? And I would say yes. I think it still makes a sound. I think that even if nobody listens to this video except me, I still think I'm making a sound. So freedom and embracing grace, moonshone face, meaning there was a famous book called The Dark Side of the Light Chasers. I'm dyslexic, so I was almost going to say The Dark Side of the Light Chasers, The Light Side of the Dark Chasers. How about this? Oh, that works too. The Light Side of the Dark Chasers, The Dark Side of the Light Chasers. That's a famous book called The Dark Side of the Light Chasers is a famous book, a psychology self-help book. And my brain is dyslexic, so I sometimes flip things backwards. Like I say, instead of walk the dog, I say dog the walk, things like that. My brain flips things backwards, which actually is handy when you're creative. It helps with art. So I'm just thinking of all these thoughts, all these different thoughts. And the truth is, though, I pay my bills, I work, I do my creative, like I work with animals, I work with artists, I work with medical people, I work in those different capacities. I have a full-time freelance career and I do my artwork and I share it with a bunch of people. I drive around in my art car. I mean, these are positive things that I do, and I'm very practical and I pay my bills and I'm organized and I'm on time. My thoughts are all over the place, and I feel like I'm really wise, and yet I am like kind of naive like a child sometimes. And the pecking order is not something that I'm good at dealing with. When I was a little kid and I felt left out as a kid, I felt in third grade, Mommy, I feel left out. Mommy, I feel excluded. Because I didn't know how to fit in socially, because I didn't want to fit in socially. I knew I didn't have what it took to be fake and dress like the popular girls and act like the popular girls and like try out and be a cheerleader and do all this kind of like, you know, play the game to be popular, because you have to be fake to be popular. And I still am not very popular. And yet I'm good at my career. And people who work with me like working with me because I'm kind and I show up on time and I'm very dependable and I'm easy to work with and I'm cooperative. But I have all kinds of secret thoughts that are darker than that, and all kinds of, like when I'm alone and I feel like I have freedom, then I feel more liberated from having to conform. Um, Maybe that's masking, maybe that's autistic masking. I don't know, but I like to be cooperative and work with other people, but then I love to have freedom and go off by myself and do my own thing. So I'm just recording this video to document some of my thoughts and feelings. I don't know how many people relate to what I'm saying and how many people don't relate to what I'm saying and how many people just have their own totally different way of seeing it than I do. I refuse to pretend like I'm buying into some things that people are buying into. So I'm navigating having to, like in high school, I gave up on trying to fit in socially or trying to, because I didn't want to fit in. I wanted to be my own unique self and somehow be appreciated. I wanted everyone, not just me, I wanted everybody to be appreciated for their unique individuality and not be ostracized. And I saw a play last night actually at the Green Lake Theater called, my acting teacher Meg McClin was in this play called, I forgot what it's called, Here and There, but it delved into identities and non-binary identities. And I was thinking that I agree with that on a certain level in terms of having total freedom to be your own unique individual self and that there's a place for everyone. But I'm not going to join on the bandwagon and criticize anybody who has a different way of seeing it. So I guess I don't want to talk too much specifically about that, but I feel like there should be a place for everyone who is feeling like they're different and feeling like they're ostracized and left out. And I've always felt that way, like I was sort of left out and ostracized in a certain way. And then I found my way of joining into groups was to be appreciated as a unique individual. So I'm comfortable working with artists as an art model and working with medical students as a pretend standardized patient and pet sitting and dog walking and because I get to be alone with people's dogs and cats and they trust me to take care of their home and do all that kind of stuff. And so that's a good thing that I have my freedom and I'm a loyal worker and I'm good at that. But then I think, well, and yet I'm spiritual but not religious. I'm not an atheist. And I'm spiritual and I'm not religious. So I believe in the energy of the universe and how we're all creating this together. So when I'm around other artists, I generally feel, although some artists form kind of cliques, like, oh, I'm a realistic artist. Oh, I'm a, non-representational abstract artist. Like abstract means that you paint a tree and you abstract the tree. So it's an abstract painting of a tree. Whereas non-representational abstract art is a step beyond that, and it is literally not trying to be anything. Like this piece of art of mine, which is I call Windsong Spiral Drive. This is not supposed to be a tree or a plant or anything, although it's inspired by shapes I see in nature of plants and animals. But this is totally non-representational art. And that's a pastel drawing I did that was printed onto a mouse pad. So that's just an example of totally non-representational art. Some would just say that's abstract. But technically, abstract means that you paint or draw something that is a real something and then you're abstracting it. So it used to be a tree and now it's an abstract version of a tree. But my art is completely non-representational abstract art. And somebody told me I shouldn't even call it abstract. I should just say non-representational art that's just shapes and patterns and designs that might remind somebody of a plant or a tree or a shape that they see in a plant or an animal, like tree bark or sea creatures like sea anemones. Or also, my art is inspired by the shapes I see when I'm in an airplane. I love to fly. And when I look down and I look at the topography of the land, and the shapes that I see on the land are patterns that I draw so I would say that I'm very much inspired by the physical natural world, but when I draw, I'm doing it intuitively and I'm not trying to recreate a map or topography that I've seen when I've flown like to Australia or Mexico or different parts of Europe that I've been. I've traveled to Australia, Mexico, Spain, Italy, France, England, Scotland, Austria, forgot certain countries like that. I've been to a lot of those different countries. I've never been to Asia or Africa. I would love to go to the Middle East, Asia, Africa, all those different places. I haven't been there though, but I have been to the other parts of Europe and parts of Australia, Brisbane, Australia, and Auckland, New Zealand, and Mexico. I made it as far as Mexico City, which was quite fascinating. So I've done a certain amount of traveling. Sadly, I haven't flown anywhere since 2018. Huh. But I have my passport. Maybe I should travel. But I have a friend who lives near Liverpool. So these are just some of my random thoughts. So, yeah, my non-representational art is inspired by the shapes that I see, plants, animals, and topography of the land, geography, the land, maps of the land. So I like to think of patterns. I'm a pattern thinker, I guess you could say. So I just wanted to document my thoughts for today. So this is Shannon Kringen, excuse me. This is Shannon Kringen, Goddess Kringen, Seattle. Signing off. It is, here's my reflection. Woo! April 22nd, 2025. Freedom, 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 freedom of thought. Okay, so a certain amount of freedom of thought, but I do feel like I'm walking on eggshells because I'm afraid to say what I really think. I also just don't really want to offend anybody or hurt anybody's feelings. But it's really hard to say much these days without hurting somebody's feelings or offending somebody. It's difficult. It's just difficult. I'm highly sensitive and highly intelligent, I think. That doesn't mean I don't think I have blind spots, and I'm not trying to be egotistical when I say that I think I'm highly intelligent. I do think I'm highly intelligent. I also think I have blind spots. I think we all do. I think that people who think they're never wrong are dangerous. The dangerous people are the people who think they're always right and they're never wrong about anything. I don't really trust those people, no matter who they are, whether they're famous or not famous, doesn't matter. But I think a certain amount of self-doubt proves how intelligent you are. If you're a little bit insecure, you might be more intelligent than somebody who constantly acts as if they know everything. If somebody thinks they're always right and they're never wrong, and they're totally confident, I think that's a false sense of that's just not real. I think that the wisest people in the world have a certain amount of self-doubt, a certain amount of skepticism about themselves and others, and that would be me. But I'm not perfect. And sometimes I'm probably totally wrong about what I say. And other times I'm totally right about what I say. So I don't think that we should be stereotyping each other. And I think we should appreciate each other's individuality. And then I think when I talk about what I'm saying, I'm probably contradicting myself. I'm probably a hypocrite. In some ways, but I try not to be. But I see people's hypocrisy. I see people that mean well and think they're good, the good kind of person, and that they're being mean to other people. And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. I thought you were a nice person, not a mean person. And yet it's probably good to be a little bit honest with people. And it's like, oh my God, so many thoughts in my head. So I'm gonna go along my day. I'm gonna have a brisk walk and just do things to take care of myself and work with other people and try to create a good ripple effect and be productive and cooperative, take care of myself, take care of my family, my friends, people that I love, people that love me, and maintain a sense of freedom if possible. Bye for now. Thank you for listening. I know I'm going to watch this video and listen to it and learn from it. Hopefully you gained something out of this video. And I also need to let go of needing people to validate me and try to just validate myself and do whatever I believe in. Everything on this earth is temporary. So, and yet I think if there is a soul, if I do have a soul, that lasts forever. So I will continue evolving on to whatever my path is on this earth as Shannon Kringen. And then whatever happens after that, I guess I'll find out. Yeah, bye for now. Enjoy your day. Every day is unique.